What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? I am Bernard Damon Holcomb, and I am the creator and the host of the Damon Speaks Show. Welcome to the Damon Speaks Show. We have a very inspiring, awesome show planned for you tonight. I cannot wait for you to meet Tobias Gilbert. He's awesome. But first, we have an opening meme. Cody, what is that first meme? The most wasted of days is one without laughter. Listen. We done been through a year. We have been through some rough times. So I want to let you know that maybe instead of focusing on our problems all the time, I mean, we're supposed to be serious and we're supposed to be adults and we're supposed to be la, 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 la. But what if we found a way to laugh? What if we found the things that actually brought us joy? Even if it's something that someone else may think is weird, or even if it's something that someone else thinks we're not supposed to be doing, don't waste your days. We've been given this fantastic gift called life. So find a way to live, to love, and to laugh. I personally like The Office. Like, that is one of my favorite series. I'm like an Adam Sandler, Jim Carrey, Dumb and Dumber, The Office, like stupid, dumb comedy. Like, Saturday Night Live is great, but I'm more of a like mad TV person. Like, I want to like really laugh at something really stupid. So that's what I've been doing the last few days as I've been going through, all the things that we tend to go through. Just lying in my bed watching The Office has brought me so much joy. So what this week is going to bring you joy? Do what makes you happy.
So I think one of the big things here is intentionality. Being intentional with what brings us joy, what makes us laugh. And I don't think we spend enough time exploring that. So this week, I think I'm going to be out in nature. Nature brings me so much joy. Watching squirrels fight over stuff is pretty funny. A lot of people think, oh, it's just so simple, so little. But finding joy in the small things, I feel is a great starter for finding your happiness. So something small for me, likely something in nature. I feel it. I don't know yet, but it's coming.
It's the little things.
The little things. Yeah.
It's the little things. Sometimes we think it has to be something huge and big and monumental, but sometimes it's the smallest things that bring us the most joy.
Now, to your point, because I do find television as a big podcast too. They give me a lot of joy. But what if, and I'm going to play devil's advocate, what if the TV went out? Or what if you ain't got no service? Then what? Ooh, all right. What's going to bring you happiness? So I find just trying to find happiness in things that aren't really tied to anything that is beyond, what's in the day-to-day. Yeah, we've gotten so used to having TV part of the day-to-day, but TV is pretty much a luxury that not a lot of people have. So finding joy in things like, for me, like looking up at the sky and just being like, you know what, it's really blue today. That's going to bring a smile to my face. Or just being able to hang out with friends and feel their energy and be around. I just got back this weekend hanging around some really good people. And just being able to converse with people, because we've been in a pandemic for so long. Those moments just really get away from us. So, yeah.
We have been in this thing. Hey, Tiberius. Hey, Maraway. Hey, Andy. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you're tuning in, say hey. Let us know in the comments. We want to interact with you. Everyone meet Tobias Gilbert. Welcome to the Damon Speaks Show.
Everybody.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Where'd you grow up? What do you do?
So I'm 31. I live in Atlanta, and I've been here about 6 years now. And that from just coming from little small town, Port Arthur, to big city Atlanta, that in and of itself has been just a whole journey. But yeah, it's brought me to a lot of self-discovery, a lot of joy in the small things. I'm a yogi, also an engineer. So, by my passion is tech, but my joy is definitely yoga and a lot of things metaphysical. So That pretty much summarizes who I am at this point. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I can't wait to get into it. We have a couple more memes that we want to talk about. I love like the idea of memes like sparking the conversation and then we really get into it. Cody,
Oh
what
yeah.
is that next meme? Okay, here we go. This is one of my faves. Strangers who smile when you make eye contact with them are so important.
Mm.
What do you think?
Absolutely. I have this mantra I live by, and I know a lot of people don't smile nowadays because for whatever reason. But smiling is just it's such a beautiful thing to be able to like contract those muscles, and sometimes smiling is infectious too. So you don't know what someone else may be dealing with. Just a simple smile. I'm not saying it be forced, but just find joy in the small things. Smiling is a thing that we've really gotten away from due
Mm,
to Miss Rona. And, like she has taken a lot of the joy out of things. So just being able to say, you know what, I see you, or even a compliment, bring joy to someone else, taking take finding joy in the small things, finding joy in making someone else smile. And it's
yeah.
just a simple smile, but we've gotten away from that as a collective, I feel.
I think that there's a bit of fear because people, especially here in New York City, they don't want to connect with someone on that level because they feel like they're either going to ask them for something or they're going to follow them or something like that. But I do think that that simple human connection activity is so important. There have been times where someone has told me, a stranger has been like, you know what? Thank you so much for being just a nice
Mhm.
person, just smiling at them. Or the number of times where I may have been feeling down on a day and I really needed to see someone's joy, and they just say, "Hey, how you doing?" You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? It's so important.
absolutely. That's something I live by. Try to make one person smile a day, and
Ooh.
start with myself and make myself smile, and then if I can just give somebody a compliment on their shoes, because people love compliments on their shoes. That'll definitely bring a joy to somebody. Got some nice kicks. Oh yes, that's nothing but joy.
Nothing but joy. And it's such, I think maybe this is a theme, like joy in the little things, or like
Mhm.
appreciating the little things and how the little things really, something as simple as a smile can really change someone's day,
Mhm.
really change their perspective, really help raise their vibration.
Yes, yes, and I feel like if we keep that to the forefront, being able to not only ourselves vibrate higher, but help bring the people around us up. That we've there's just so much we've gotten away from because of Miss Rona, but even prior to that, just the collective uplifting of people. Is everything is so me nowadays. What I'm gonna do to elevate and what I'm gonna do to get to the next level, and we're not really thinking about it, as a community. And when we start getting into these modes of just me, what is my joy? And yeah, that's always good to the forefront, taking care of yourself. But it's always good to remember that we are a collective, and this is a big old machine that we all are gears of, and we have to be doing our part to keep this thing moving.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. What's our next meme? What else I put on this week? I think this is them. That spiritual shit is for the birds. Me. In the nest, okay?
Definitely a bird. Probably in the literal and the figurative sense at this point. But yeah, definitely a bird. To this one, spirituality, we all have a spirit. We all have one. And spirituality is really just to kind of tap into that in some capacity. To find that matters of the spirit are scary, or, even demonic in some circles, when you start getting into things like how your energetic center is aligned, and all of that other stuff, it gets away from traditional teachings of self. And that could be a little tricky for some people because it's like, oh, I'm not with that spiritual stuff. It's very much giving disconnected. we we really want to be connected as a collective. I think the theme at this point is going to be joy in the little things and community, because oof, we are a community.
We are a community.
We are a community.
I had some moms on the show last week because last Sunday was Mother's Day, and these are all women that perform and that deal with motherhood, and it's very difficult, or it's something that's purported as being very difficult to handle a performing life as a singer or actor, and also be a mother and have a home life. But they were highlighting the need and the necessity for community to come together for togetherness and to for education and for upliftment for all those things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it just ties into that connectedness, because when we start to tap into how the community is feeling, we also start to understand what's missing, and that sometimes is not a pretty thing, because we realize that our communities need a lot, and where to start on how to add value to them, it can be a little bit of an arduous task, because now we have to get into things like purpose. What is our purpose, and how do we contribute to our community, and how do we add value and uplift everyone around us. And I'll be honest, even myself, we're all sort of either have been or are at a place of not living with purpose. And that's a slippery slope, as we probably already know.
Right.
Yeah.
What would you say is one of the best ways for someone to find their purpose? If they're feeling like, I don't really know, why am I here? I don't know.
Well, that's a really good one, because I know from personal experience the need to find purpose is usually brought on by something like a life event, or something that, because if you've been living without purpose for so many years, you've become conditioned to be okay with living without purpose, until you're presented with something in life that's like, oh, buddy, you're living without purpose. It's time to, get it together. And so without having to have like experienced a life event, it requires a lot of intentionality, asking some serious why questions, like, why am I not getting into the financial space that I'm in? Or why am I so unhappy? And, it usually stems far more than, I haven't found something nice to wear, or, I haven't gone on a date or something. There's usually something deeper that you have to really dig into. And that's scary, because it's like, when you start asking these questions, you start realizing, oh, okay, I'm not as put together as I may present, or I might not have it all together. And that's not a easy thing for people to admit. We all want to be on one, and, put on social media, like, yeah, everything is sparkles and sunshine. But when you're not living with purpose and you have to ask these questions, it can sometimes be a triggering space for people to walk in, because you're reminded, oh, okay, I need to be doing more with my life. And, complacency is a real thing. So asking why questions, I guess, to answer your question, is asking the why questions. Why am I here? What is my purpose? How can I add value to my life? And then once you start asking those why questions, it becomes very rabbit hole-ish, where you're going to get into deeper parts of your subconscious, and really having to address living your authentic self, because purpose requires authenticity, right? So yeah, why questions, that's the big one.
When you were saying that, I saw a nugget. Like, I saw like a person standing there, but there was a small nugget, and it's like the why nugget. Like, what is at the center of you? What is at the center of your life? And I often encourage people when they're going through and they're ready to give up, whatever it may be, whatever they may be doing, like, go back to your why. Like, why did you start doing this? Why did you feel like this was the path that you needed to follow? And a lot of times that brings them back into alignment with their purpose. It brings them back into alignment, with why they're doing what they're doing, and it gives them a bit of strength to keep going. Hey, Antoinette. So what is our why nugget? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are we here? What brings us joy? What brings us bliss? What makes us smile? What is the little thing that we could do? I listen to Gary Vee. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's like a social media
Yeah,
influencer. I love Gary.
I
You
stand
know,
Gary Vee.
he would say, like, what is it that you love to do? How can you turn that into something that you are, not just posting on social media, but you're documenting your life, you're documenting what you love to do. And therefore, it's not hard to come up with content. It's not hard to come up with a business because this is something that you do. This is something that you love,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. And, when we start getting into the things we love, once again, that is having to ask the why questions or the what questions, like, what do I love? What brings me joy? And, you can't start a business and it be successful and you're not living authentically, or it's not something that you're truly passionate about. You can start any old thing, but if it's not something that you really enjoy, or it's not something you're authentic with, people will recognize that and it will come off in the content that you create. So asking that why question is not only pivotal to your personal success, but also to your professional and anything you do professionally. So yeah, that why nugget. That's I will even argue that why nugget is probably more of like a, a big rock. It's just like a
Mm.
nice piece of gold, because once you start getting
Mm.
into that why, it's going to unlock a lot of doors. I feel it has for me personally.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I feel like that why rock now has helped lead you when you were questioning to do this or that or take this path or the other.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Like, does this make me happy? Does um my practice, am I fully grounded in who I am as a person before I get out here and start teaching people? That has been like, oh, it's different to say, oh yeah, I teach yoga, but is it something that I'm passionate about and I'm truly resonating with, or is it something that is like sort of like a money grab because I'm flexible and I know the people are gonna come to a class? So I don't want to experience this space that I also see that a lot of people are in, where they jump into something and it's not something they're passionate about, or adds answers their why, and it fizzles out.
Mhm.
I want it to be something that is long standing and then will ultimately create a legacy for myself, far on past I'm gone from this place. So that's a big one too, the legacy. What type of legacy do you want to leave? And we're not answering those questions enough.
Mhm. Mhm. Hey, Monifa. I saw my friend. She came in. If you're just tuning in, this is the Damon Speaks show tonight. I am sitting down with Tobias Gilbert. He is a yogi. He's an entrepreneur. He's so many things. We're just now getting into the things. But feel free to put your questions and your comments in the comments. We would love to interact with you. So a little bit more about this why thing is like when you know your why and you know what you love, it's like a firm foundation, right? That thing is built on like a solid rock. But when you don't, and you're just doing it for the money grab, or you're doing it for the IG followers, or you're doing it for something other than, the real reason that you should be, it's like built on straw or sand. It just, any little thing can come and just wash it away.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we see that a lot, people not living their authentic self. And it shows up in the work. It shows up in how you're adding to the community, or what, taking away from it. And we have enough of that going on. And to just be a part of that is not something I'm interested in. And that's why I've been pretty slow and methodical with my practice. I started, and then I recognized that this was a passion of mine, but I also wanted to remain teachable. I never wanted to get to a point where I'm doing all of these yoga, and people are like, "Oh wow, I'm inspired," and I'm not authentically living that, because I'll be honest, living in the spiritual community, there's more than enough of that going on as is.
Mm,
And I really wanted the things that I contributed to be of value to the community, and never take away from it.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
I love it. I feel like the more we give, the more we get back.
Hmm.
you know Like one of my first tattoo is a heart with a recycle sign around it, and it's like recycle love. As much love as I give, it comes back to me. I think that people also get a little mixy with that because they expect that if I'm giving to you, Tobias, then that means you, Tobias, are going to give to me. Where is it? When that's not necessarily the case. I could be giving to you, and then someone else, let's say John or Joe, is like supposed to give to me. So it may not come from the place that you water and that you give, but it's gonna come back to you.
Oh, you about to have me in here doing a praise dance? Like seriously, seriously. And I am 100% second that frame of mind, because I have learned to be heart open at all times. Like I've learned to, like even after things like a traumatic, like a breakup, or, like a family member dying, we all want to put a guard up and hide our gifts from the world in a sense. And that's not helping anybody. If anything, it's just preventing others or even yourself from seeing your own light. So remaining heart open at all times, through tragedy, through whatever life throws at you, the ability to remain heart open is so rare. It's so rare. And I recognize that as soon as I started stepping into the space that I'm in, is that a lot of people are very much closed off. And Miss Rona didn't help it any more, because it's like now we're not only energetically keeping people at bay, but physically. Like there's no hugs, there's no handshakes, or any of that. So we have a bunch of people in our community that are not only energetically closed off, but physically. And it just becomes a vicious cycle that is going to take one or two, like you're doing with your show, to break that cycle and let everyone know this is a safe space to be heart open. This is okay. It's okay to dig into these things and step into our authentic purpose. And we don't have enough of that. That's why I when you asked me to come on, I was like, yeah, this is going to add value to the community and whoever's listening. Hi, people that are listening.
Oh, Tobias. Okay, so something that's coming up for me is to live with an open heart. I think for me, can sometimes be incredibly difficult because the concern is, and I was just talking about this earlier, just now. If I give and I live with an open heart and people mistreat me, or people mistake, my open heartedness for weakness or something like that, how am I going to deal with that pain? Is there always pain that's involved? And how do we move past that and keep our hearts open? Because the thing that happens, right, is that someone mistreats us, we go through a breakup or something happens, and we want to shut it down. And to be honest, sometimes that feels like strength. Sometimes that feels like protecting ourselves. Like people told you got to protect your heart. You got to put up your walls. Like don't just, you got to have your boundaries. But what does it mean to live with an open heart? And how do we deal with the pain that may come along with that?
I think this particular question requires a reframe of the value of being heart open, because, like you said, we like to think that putting that guard up is a sign of strength. But who is it help strengthening? Like, is it how are you strengthening? Like, asking the real tough questions. Why is this a sense of safety for you? Because if anything, the heart should be open, but you should be a little bit more discerning with who you remain heart open with and the people that you allow that. For me, I'll be honest, I was one of those people that would become closed off, cold, not letting people in, not communicating my feelings, shutting down the moment that I felt like someone was sliding me. But then, I had to reframe that. It was like, well, that's just more a reflection of them and where they are in their journey. That should not deter me from continuing my purpose, which is to remain heart open and give back to the community. Because if I become heart closed, no one can benefit from the light that I have to give. And I have a lot of light to give. So that requires also people having to answer do you have light to contribute to the world? And if you have that light, are you guarding other people from being able to see it? And if you want to make the argument, oh, okay, well, certain people should see it, that's true. But going back to purpose, how can you add value to the community if you're not allowing people to see that light?
Mm.
So um dealing with heartbreak is, it's something that you just have to reframe, because that whole ideology of being closed off, it can be very toxic in so many different ways. It shows up in different areas of our lives. It's not just with that situation. It will spill out into probably your job, your personal situations with your friends. We like to think that it's just compartmentalized, but that type of energy oozes out in so many different places we don't even really recognize until it happens. So,
I was just talking to a friend today, and I was telling him something that my best friend told me. He said, listen, when your heart is broken, or when you're going through something and you're trying to dull that pain, it's not really possible to dull only the bad. Like when you dull everything. Everything is dull. So you're not receiving the good or the bad. So it's best not to dull it, but to feel it, to go through it, and to keep shining.
yes, yes, and we don't want to experience pain. Obviously, we're humans. We don't want to be hurt. We don't want to experience pain. We don't want to experience our toe getting stubbed. But it's gonna happen. It's definitely gonna happen. It's a part of life. And taking on that reframe of like, okay, you know what? There could be a possibility that I stub my toe. It could be a possibility that I let this person in and they completely try to rearrange all of my heart openness. But at the end of the day, you still win because your heart is going to be open. You're going to continue to shine. The real problem lies and when you shut down and you prevent that light and the goodness, like you were talking about, both the good and the bad, you have ultimately lost your purpose, because we're humans, and the heart is a very complex muscle and even a spiritual organ. And once we start living in fear as it relates to that organ, like I said, it just shows up in so many different areas of our life. So I'm adamant about the heart stuff, because too often, just not even getting into the general aspect, but Black men, ladies and gentlemen, and their hearts and our hearts, and just the trauma we've had to endure alone with it, just everything between this police stuff and society as a whole. Our hearts are pretty much programmed to be closed off and disconnected, and that's a whole other conversation. I feel that we will get it. We'll probably go on for hours about, but leading back into it, that heart openness is definitely going to help not only add value to the community, but break a real generational cycle that we've all just been brought into from birth. And then it's not an easy job.
Mm-hmm. There's actually another meme that I think kind of speaks to this whole thing. Cody, if you could bring that up. Um, and it says, I don't want to go through things that don't kill me but make me stronger anymore. I don't want it. I feel
I
like when you're living with an open heart, like that, sometimes that happens. Have you ever felt like you've had to force yourself to keep the open heart? And is it okay in some instances to have a moment where you get a little closed, you do a little repair and come back, or is it just always open?
no, having those moments of healing is for me, I feel is important, because um we have to get back to center. Like once we start taking in all these energy, or even forcing ourselves to fit some mold, to be happy all the time and stuff. No, we're human. So there are definitely going to be those moments where we need to retract and detach from being this openness, and then ask the real questions, because you can't be heart open until you address the real issue, right? So we're human. and being able to feel those emotions and let them flow through you and not just avoid them or, indulge in things that just help numb them. Feel it, withdraw, do what you have to do, involve only a certain people, involve yourself, and then get back to the real mission of shedding light into the communities. Um, and try your best to put a time frame on it. The
Mhm.
we always want to say, oh, I'm just indefinitely going to be in this space. No, first of all, it's dangerous, right? Because once you start getting into a complacent space of being heart closed, some grown men have been heart closed for many years. Let's just get into some of our fathers and the trauma from that generation. So um, be mindful that you don't want to jump back into that cycle that we're literally programmed to be in.
Mm.
Understand that this is just a moment. This is something that I need to get through. This is something that I need to heal from, and then get back into it. And likely a lot of these moments that cause you to regroup will cause you to shine even brighter, because now you're addressing these things that, okay, you know what, maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I shouldn't do that, but I'm gonna keep shining though. And I'm not gonna do that again. you know?
Mm. Mm. Mhm. Let's get into a little bit of your journey. So, um, when you were a kid, when you were younger, did you have any concept of where you would be at this age and what you would be doing? And does it in any way match what you thought it was going to be?
Absolutely not. I always say, if I were to look back, or if I were to go back and meet younger me, I feel like younger me would be like completely shook. Like, oh wow, like this is what I would grow to be. And I have to remind myself of that a lot, because we get so caught up in where we are now, where we want to be. But looking back on where you come from and realizing that younger you would probably be like super, super excited about the future. In those moments where, it looks super bleak, there's just nothing that to look forward to. I think I would be very proud of myself. I really do. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So tell me a little bit about where you were and what brought you along this path, along this journey to being who you are today. Like, were you always as spiritual as you are? Were you always as aware as you are? Was there a singular event that was like, oh, okay, this is the way I need to go? Or was it kind of just a thing that
Um,
unfolded in time?
it was a series of events. So I grew up traditionally Muslim. I mentioned that earlier, and in Islam there is a set guidelines, like many other religions, on how to live, how to become connected to the divine, and the true path to getting into heaven. I'm a gay man, so my journey doesn't really fit this narrow definition of how to get this connection with the divine. So I think I started asking some serious why questions maybe 5 or 6 years ago, um, because I felt like I was living a life that did not suit me. It did not suit my higher self. And I think a lot of people resonate with this because, similar to Christianity, you need to do this, this, and this, and this. Well, what if I don't really fit that mold? Or, what if I'm outside of the norm? Does that mean that I need to change who I am
Hmm.
to get this connection with my divine? And I felt like at a certain point I was being denied that by the mosque and different people in the Islamic community, because simply who I am, and I can't change that. So does that mean I'm indefinitely denied a connection that would inevitably help my life?
Hmm.
So then it started, these all of these rainfall of questions on, is religion for me? Am I more spiritual than religious? Does whatever the community is giving me, do I resonate with? And I realized there are parts that I resonate with in the community, the religious community, and then for the most part, there are things that I don't. And I can't say I'm fully into something. If I can't accept all of it. And there's certain things that, within the mosque that I cannot jive with. And so it's been this whole journey of just connecting with spirit. Let's take it back to basics. Let's take all of the journey and the different rules and regulations that you need to do, tides and, all of these things that said, this is what you need to do. And let's get back to the spirit self. How can I add value to myself? And then conversely, how can I add value to the community? And then when you start asking those questions, I think matters of the spirit and knowing that there's a larger picture, it kind of just comes with that territory, because you realize that you're not alone on this. There are other people that are on the same journey, and coincidentally, they also don't necessarily resonate with the church or the mosque, as heavily as they used to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But now I don't want the churchgoers to be all in my inbox now. I'm not saying I'm not saying that there's any issue with religion. I'm just saying that it doesn't necessarily fit with everyone's journey, and that's okay. That doesn't mean they're going to hell. It doesn't mean they're denied heaven or any of those things. It just means that we're all on our own journeys. And then
can we just allow people to be on their journey?
No.
Can we just allow them to be on their journey and allow them to find their higher power, their source, their sense of spirituality, as opposed to hitting them over the head with a book or with rules or with...
No, we can't allow that, Bernard. I mean, we cannot allow that, because that will inevitably do away with hierarchies, and that will inevitably take away this power struggle that comes from being able to say, oh, you're not worthy of this divine connection, or you're not worthy of a peace of mind. It takes away from that. And I've recognized that earlier on, like, who are you to tell me that because of who I am, I'm not only denied purpose, but I'm denied, like I said, a connection that when I'm by myself or I don't have anyone to lean on, that could potentially save my life. I take issue with it, but I also recognize that it's helped millions of people in their own journeys. So I can't take away from that as well.
Okay. Tiberius says, gatekeepers want to protect their power. Absolutely.
Almost took off running. Like, gatekeeping. Oh, wow. Yeah. Gatekeeping is something else. And it ties into that whole hierarchy of things. Like, if I have the knowledge, if I have, somewhat a connection to things that you may not be privy to, I got something on you. I've one-upped you in a sense, and that's a whole other conversation, the hierarchies. But yeah, gatekeeper, not just in religion, in spirituality too. There's certain topics and concepts in yoga that have given people the power to say, I'm more spiritually connected to myself than you are. And, conversely, I'm better. And going back to your point, let people go along their journeys. And how about you just appreciate the journey that they are on versus try to make yourself above what they're doing. Because going back to sense of community, it takes away from the community. It takes away from everybody doing their own thing and contributing to the community or this big machine, what they need to, so we can keep this moving forward. If anything, it's an attempt to take that particular person out of this machine. Like, I like to think of us all as gears. Like, you're doing your thing in the machine, Corey's doing his thing, I'm doing my thing. But for you to sit here and tell me that because of who I am or the knowledge that you have over me, that I suddenly need to be taken out of the machine, it's not right. And I think we all can agree on that. It's just not okay. So letting people live their life and go along their journey the way they need to and experience the experiences is tantamount to purpose. Just bringing it back to center. Purpose.
And you know what? Religion has a purpose. As someone that grew up in a fundamentalist Christian home, apostolic, like you got to speak in tongues or else you're not going to heaven. You have to be baptized a specific way. Don't wear makeup for the ladies. Men, don't wear your pants too tight because we're looking at you. I have often said, because I grew up in that home, it actually saved me from a lot of things and a lot of trouble that I could have gotten in, especially when I was in high school. So it did serve a purpose. And sometimes I'd be like, rah, rah, religion, religion. But for some people, it's life-saving. And for some people, that's their path. So I'm not going to okay, thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, millions of people. Religion is definitely, like you said, it has its purpose. It just doesn't add to the purpose for everyone. And this idea that religion is the end all be all to your connection with the divine, it just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit this life thing that we're all on. And then to say that one person's religion, even getting more granular with it, is above another person's religion. It's just goes back into this hierarchy of things, and that's just a vicious circle that we perpetuate.
Yeah. I've talked about this a little bit. It always makes me feel kind of uncomfortable because I was raised in such an oppressive
I know.
religion.
Churchgoers.
Listen, don't have any other ideas. Don't ask too many questions because then it's the devil. But I will say, along my own spiritual journey, through meditation, through all the things that I have been exploring, I feel like I've expanded a little bit. And so I really see God as love, God as source, God as the universe. And I think that religion specifically is man's finite way, or humankind's finite way of trying to define what cannot be defined. I think it's much bigger than that. If we think about the universe and the fact that we may not just be living in a universe, but it may be a multiverse where there are many universes, how can there be this small finite way of looking at things and a way of being? But at the same time, I do have to recognize that some people need that, and that is some people's way of getting through this life.
Purpose. Yeah, absolutely.
Got it. Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about yoga. Did you find yoga? Did yoga find you?
Yoga definitely found me.
It came for you.
Yeah.
I'm here for you.
It's like, come here. Funny enough, when I took my first yoga class, I was in a space where I think a lot of people are in the space right now where I need something new. I need to shake the table up. I need added, because I was also on a spiritual journey, asking these questions prior to. So it was only natural to get into things that kind of cause some deep introspect. And one of them, I'll be honest, I was going through some very serious body image issues. So one of my first recognizable classes was a nude yoga class. Nude.
Naked.
Yes, naked. And a group of men and women that were on the same journey, understanding their bodies, trying to get more comfortable with the form that they were given and in the right here and right now. And we get so obsessed with how our bodies should look and what society dictates is sexy. So I was in that space and I ran across this yoga class and I was like, oh, okay. Ultimately led to, a level of self-confidence. I was like, okay, you know what? I like this. All right. I can walk around with my shirt off and not feel weird or anything. And at the time I was a pretty heavy guy. And everything that kind of comes with that, just society's things that they put on us, as far as what is appropriate and what isn't. And so it really broke those barriers. And so it was only natural that I got into the yoga philosophy and the different methodologies behind the actual practice. And I've been rocking with it since.
Listen, let me find me a new yoga class.
I mean, I do teach, so
Come on, teach. Teach. Listen, that is so freeing because as someone who has struggled my entire life with being big, being small, starving myself so that I could be smaller, or dealing with emotional issues, so I'm eating too much, so I'm bigger. I will say that around 2017, I got like the smallest I'd ever been, and I was like, oh, I'm sexy, and like my milkshake was bringing all the boys to the yard and all that stuff. But there were still issues. So when I was on the apps or whatever, looking for hookups or looking for dates, it was like, yeah, you see something on the outside, but you don't see like the skin, the extra skin, or you don't see how my body looks this way or that way. So it taught me a lesson. It was like, listen, you can be big, you can be small, you can be whatever you are, but you have to be good with you. You have to not
right
be
here
searching
and
for
right
someone
now. I
right,
challenge anybody
right now.
watching. I challenge anybody watching this right now to look at yourself in the mirror naked, and the parts that you may be uncomfortable with, the stretch marks or whatever, just hug it. Just hug it. Love yourself. Recognize that you are perfect as you are. You are fine.
Right
You are
here,
right
right
here
now.
in this very moment. You are sexy. You are and you may not necessarily fit what society deems as sexy, but I really want you to know that where you are right here, right now, is where exactly where you need to be. And that's something that I don't think anyone told me at the time, because we're so busy trying to change and plastic surgeries, and that's people's journey. But at the end of the day, you have to be okay with your current form for you to step into your purpose. Because when we start to change or try to change based off of what is socially acceptable, we're ultimately living someone else's purpose, what someone else has deemed is appropriate and sexy. And when we start doing that, it's a slippery slope. Like I said, you're living for other people and ultimately not being your authentic self. And when you are able to be no matter what size you are, honestly, it's so sexy. It is just like somebody who, is not society's ideal, but will walk around like, they run New York City runway, or, that's such a beautiful thing to see. And I'm attracted more to that versus what any society is deems as appropriate or sexy.
Yeah. Pilgrim says, I've actually been doing this lately, being naked and enjoying my body. Enjoy it, Pilgrim. Enjoy
Yes, touch on yourself and
it.
feel it. Yeah, and just I've gotten to a point where I wake up every morning and I look at myself and I'm like, you are a bad B. Even even when I'm just not necessarily feeling it, or I'm looking busted, or I don't have a haircut, you are bad. Even on your worst day, you are a bad B. And we don't do that enough. We aren't loving ourselves enough. Oh, I don't have a haircut. Oh, my edges aren't really laid. I'm not cute. I, this growing trend of specifically Black women. Let's just get into Black women, ladies and gentlemen, really stepping into the stepping away from society's definition, and like, I've been seeing a trend of accepting and their natural hair. Like the froze. I'm seeing more froze and puffs coming up, and it's just a beautiful thing to see. Like all these people living their authentic truths. I'm here for it.
Mhm. Listen, I feel like at the end of the day, some people may have their preferences, but it's really the energy behind it, right? Like when you see someone that's not conventionally attractive and they're
Yeah,
like, I live for this, I want this, and you probably gonna want this too. Then I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah.
I do. Yeah.
So don't be afraid to lean in, people. Lean into those stretch
Yeah.
marks, lean into all those things that make you different.
You never know who finds beauty in that that's watching.
Mm,
Mhm.
mm. I'm here for it. Yes. Yes. So not only do you teach yoga, you're also an engineer.
Yes. So I'm a systems engineer. I design systems. Speaking of like this life system that we're on and all of our pieces, that's part of the reason why I started my company, Indigo Wave, because I want to help businesses, well, particularly small businesses, um, really start to be introspective in how their metrics are set up and how different things interact with different parts. Like, for example, your podcast, like how the different platforms are connected and how to do integrations in Microsoft and all that. So that also has tied a big part into my purpose as well. Yeah.
I love it. Was it scary? What were you feeling when you felt like it was time for you to start a business and be an entrepreneur?
Oh, there was a lot of self-talk that I had to get out of the way. Um, I'm sorry. Actually, I don't want to interrupt the broadcast, but let me see. I have to run to the restroom.
Go, please go. We're gonna talk. We're gonna have fun. So, if you're just tuning in or if you've been tuning in, say hi in the comments. Let me know that you're there. Um, this is the Damon Speak Show. I am Bernard Damon Holcomb. I am the host and the creator. We are talking with Tobias Gilbert tonight. He is a yogi. He is a business owner. He's an entrepreneur. Well, I guess that is a business owner, right? He is an engineer. And so when he comes back, I'm going to have him tell us a little bit about his Indigo Wave businesses. You can find us every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Hey, Instagram. I have a few people that are really holding on to the Instagram. The Instagram broadcast is a little ghetto, but it's still what it is. I use my iPad as a separate display and I turn my phone on to have it because Instagram just doesn't like to play with everybody else. Like we can't just go live from there like we do like everywhere else, but you're still getting the Damon Speaks show. Keep an eye out later next month in June. We're going to be having an end of the season party. I'm going to invite some of the guests to come back and give us updates. We may be popping bottles. I don't really know what's going to happen. Thank you, Tiberius.
No, sorry about that. When life calls,
Listen,
life calls.
you gotta answer. Okay? Tell us about Indigo Wave, your business helping small businesses.
So yeah, when I originally came up with Indigo Wave, it was all pretty much an idea. I had known I was good at tech. I know that yoga was part of my calling. So going back to this whole conversation around purpose, I had to really dig into how I can leverage my skill set to be of service. One of my big why questions was like, how, or, why am I doing this? And the answer that I came up with, sure enough, was how can I be of service to myself and my community? And the one thing that I came up with was yoga. Representation in tech. There's not a lot of Black folk that are being represented in leadership roles in tech. So I wanted to change that. There's not a lot of representation in yoga. Black folk are not doing yoga. Let's just get into it. It's usually seen as some, foo-foo stuff that is predominantly held in white spaces. And, that's perfectly fine, but representation is a big thing. So how can I be of service? Indigo Wave. My company name is heavily involved with spirituality as well. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the chakras, but we have 7 of them. And each one of them rules certain aspects of ourselves. Indigo, surely enough, is the third eye chakra. It is right here in the forehead. And that houses things like intuition, wisdom, introspect, trying to really understand how your inner world interacts with the world around it, how your how your particular gear helps the machine move forward.
Mm.
So Indigo Wave helps people do that. Small businesses, how to move their business forward, wisdom and insight on things like reporting and how their IT infrastructure is moving. It's more about the outer world, and yoga, Indigo Wave yoga is more the inner world. How your inner world is doing, how you're paying attention to your body. Are you really paying attention to your purpose? And it's been a journey, because I've definitely learned a lot of things about myself in the process. But it's certainly been a blessed experience. I will say that.
I feel like anytime we're taking a risk, I think that entrepreneurship is definitely a risk. Business ownership is a risk. Putting yourself out there, doing something new. It definitely has its rewards, but also has its like fears and things that just come up. For example, me doing this show, what is it, Murphy's Law? Anything that can go wrong or could go wrong will go wrong. Like there are always things that happen. And we figure out how to make it work. But it's made me so much stronger. And there have been many times, Tobias, many times when I've been sitting at this desk thinking, either I'm too nervous to do this show, I don't have the energy to do this show, I'm too anxious, I'm feeling a little depressed. But every time that I actually just show up for myself and for the community and getting to my purpose and getting up to alignment.
Oh, you better bring it back to center now. You better stop playing.
Ooh, then it's good. It's all good.
Yes. Showing up, I think, is something we don't do enough either. Just show up. Like show up for yourself. Show up for your passion. Show up for your purpose. It's something that we want to shy or away from. And if you just put yourself in a position to see the possibility of what your purpose may bring, whether it be hanging out with people that are doing the similar thing or connecting with like-minded spirits who you're able to have these type of conversations with. If you just show up and put yourself in that space, the universe is like, okay, he's trying, let me go ahead and bestow this. And we operate in a place of fear so often that we don't even really show up. And conversely, the universe is not going to give you the things that you need, right? So showing up, ladies and gentlemen, just show up. If you have to, for example, if you are really wanting to step into tech, just show up to a friend's house and talk about something that you're working on. Show up. I'm gonna write that down. Show up.
Show TF up.
Right.
I love it. Like, fear definitely gets in the way. I think that whole fear piece is also part of not being open-hearted and really staying a little bit too long in that space of hiding, cowering, trying to put the light under a bushel. But I always feel better when I let the light shine. I always feel better when I let the light shine. Like, I've gone through a lot of heartbreak, a lot of stuff. And what I found for me is that it never stays dim for very long. Even if my intention is for me to withdraw, even if my intention is for me to be like, fuck this shit, I'm not dealing with this person anymore, I'm not doing this anymore, inevitably it just pops up because I'm open to, the plan, I'm open to the purpose, I'm open to the light and me being of service to the world and to the community.
And I mean, and not to hamper down, but you just look better. You just look so much better when you are heart open and that inner light shines out. Your skin looks a little different. It looks a little ooey dooey. It's like you're walking a little different because, especially when you yourself recognize that you are shining, or you're contributing to the community, your level of self-confidence will just go through the roof, and people think, it's such a false narrative to think that being closed and to dim your light to be from being seen is like a sign of strength or growth um or being a savage. That's the narrative now. You gotta be a savage, classy, bougie and all that. That's the narrative, and it's caught on so, to the point where that's the norm now. So to actively go against that line of thinking, you definitely differentiate yourself from the crowd and you look better. You might even start attracting different kind of partners.
I was just about to say that you
Law of
attract different
attraction.
things. You attract the different things when your heart is open and you out here trying to do the right thing and be the right thing and get into alignment. Number one, we think, we got to hustle. It's got to be hard. It's got to be, no, when you're in alignment and when you're in purpose, things kind of just flow. Edwin says, baby, who is this? This is Tobias Gilbert. Floating to put up his Instagram. I think you might get like, you DMs. No, but you start to attract different and you feel better.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You're just your entire life. Even if you may on paper, you may not be in the best of situations. Your inner life and your inner world is going to be beautiful. And at some point, the outer world is going to match. That we so busy trying to get the outer world together, our cars, our houses, finances, the bags, and that is intrinsically important. But if your inner world does not match that, all of that can go away in an instant and you'll be depleted. And I don't know if you've ever been through this, but I've been through that, where I'm so focused on what I got going on, how, get this money, get this bag. But at the root of it all, it doesn't even matter, because if it doesn't match, it's not going to be sustainable, one, because it's not really aligning with your purpose. And then two, that level of imbalance is going to create a shift in some kind of capacity. We may not even be able to recognize it right off rip, but it'll show up. So starting off with self, finding your purpose and establishing what love and all of these different concepts mean to you first, and then the outer world, which has come. And that's really been my journey. I've been so adamant about my inner world that should the blessings just be coming. Like I don't even really have to ask, clients start inquiring about my business, they see the value, word of mouth. I don't even really have to promote it like that, but God help me when I do. God, because I might need an admin or something, child. So like I said, it's been methodical. I don't want to do too much on the outer world if I don't fully embody the things that I'm talking about. And we see a lot of that too. You're just talking, but you're not living this stuff. And it'll show. It'll show.
Let's talk a little bit about feeling overwhelmed and what your process is, or what you would suggest people do to let go. Like if you're feeling very bogged down, things are hard, you can't see a way out, you're not really sure if you're on the right path. There's a lot of fear, there are things mixed. How do we get back to center? How do we get back to purpose? And how do we relieve some of that pressure?
One of probably the most underrated things in our lives is the breath. I feel like a lot of us take it for granted because it's just something we've been doing all our lives. But the breath is such a powerful thing if you are able to intentionally use it. It's different to passively use it. Oh, I get up, I'm breathing. But to be intentional with the breath can do things like change your temperature, change your mood, change your outcome, your outlook on life. And even to the point, bring a sense of endorphins where you might completely feel a shift. So tapping into things like breath work, which is a big part of yoga as well. meditation and integrating, creating a mental safe space and integrating breath work into that. Taking in a long inhale and then holding it, letting go, envisioning just taking in the good shit, letting go the stuff that is beyond your control. Doing that 20, 30 times and intentionally sitting in a quiet space is guaranteed to change your perspective in some way, whether it bring a sense of calm, to really start to pick apart why you're overwhelmed and the pieces that you're overwhelmed with. Maybe it's something that you might recognize after you open your eyes. I don't know if you've ever taken a deep breath and held it and kind of like exhausted yourself and let it go. You kind of feel a little lightheaded. It's just like, if you are able to tap into that power that your body already has and use it in a way that can completely remold your line of thinking, that's powerful. I admit, I would have to advise anybody who's having issues with being overwhelmed, tap into the breath, take a minute, disconnect from what you're dealing with and breathe. Like unclench I tell my students this, unclench the jaw, relax the brow, let go of the ear muscles, because we do that a lot. So just relax all of those different muscles that you're not even aware that are tensed up when you're overwhelmed or anxious. Like you're overwhelmed, everything's tense. When you breathe, everything sort of kind of like releases. The problem's not going to go away, but you have now the mindset to kind of address the problem from a different perspective than fear or anxiety, So breath, people. Let's get some breath going. Let's breathe. Let's get some breathe. Yes.
I love it. Ooh, that made me feel very good. Because people think because I do the Damon Speaks show, because I'm just a generally positive person, that I don't necessarily go through anything, but I do share with my audience a lot my struggles, the things that I go through, and as of late, it's been a little bit difficult. But that breath thing and like being here and sharing this space and gaining this perspective has been really good for me.
Yes, breathe. Like it's the one thing keeping us alive. Like literally, it's such a powerful tool that we have been given, and we passively use it on a daily basis. But just imagine the possibilities if, and I'm still learning things like breath work and how to tap into it myself. But the more and more I get into this stuff, the more value I'm finding in being able to unlock parts of myself that may have not been really unlocked. But it can be scary. But at the same time, like if you're with it and you're willing to do the work, yeah, be prepared to like start making some monumental changes and seeing some blessings come in. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about love. Like love, dating. As a spiritual person, as a yogi, as someone who is connected to the divine intentionally, does that make dating, love, and all that comes along with that easier?
I will say it makes it, it becomes more involved than just passively like going about it. I talk about this thing called intentionally dating, because it's kind of rare in our community, to be on a date and intentionally know what it is you're going about. Because when you start getting into things like purpose, now you have to also now discern if someone else has purpose, because you can't be coming into my shit without living purpose. All the work that I've done, all the why questions and the days and I've had to breathe and you got to be able to tap into that yourself, and for me, I recognize that not a lot of people see value in that. It can be a little intimidating, because when you inviting someone into your space that's not living with purpose raises some red flags. You know, if you've not done the work, you know, I can't have you here. And, you know, a lot of people nowadays, you can't be here. I mean, you know, as much as you may be a fine individual and have the bags and all this, I've been there. I've had the bags.
Done that.
I've done that. And I can't do that because my peace and the space, the beautiful space that I've created for myself now, I'm vehemently protective of. But I'm gonna still shine. It's gonna be seen. But you can't come into the fold without me understanding that you've also done the work yourself. That presents its own set of challenges. I'll just say that. Because, you know, when you've lived without purpose for so long, you can definitely spot when someone else is not. And you have to navigate allowing people to live their own journey. You know, going back to what I was saying, I can't impose anything but I can inspire. I may be able to just live my life, but at the same time, I cannot teach you. You know, I can inspire you, but I cannot teach you your purpose, and I can't teach you, you know, what your ultimate goal in this life machine is. That's something that we individually need to be doing, and that comes with dating intentionally, because before you start dating, you have to be like, all right, I'm preparing myself for a marriage or a relationship. Not a lot of people are trying to do that. They're not doing that.
Mm, mm. And being well, let me ask you this. Do you think it's easy to attract love?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I do believe I am love.
Ooh.
I am definitely love. And so I know, you know, if I continue the journey that I've been on and continuing to be heart open and living my truth and being love, you know, that will attract someone on a similar journey out there, I'm sure. So
I love it. I love it. I love it. I wrote you a message earlier today because I saw a story on Instagram, and it was around like monogamy. I've been hearing so many conversations surrounding monogamy, you know, ethical non-monogamy, polyamory, and just the different ways. And I think this is going to line up kind of with that same conversation we were having about religion. Like everyone has their path. But what are your thoughts surrounding monogamy slash non-monogamy and the way that people are existing in relationships these days?
So I'm a little hesitant because this is something that I've actively been, like you saw. It's just I'm really curious, because I've seen, for starters, I've never really seen a healthy, open relationship. I come from a divorce household, you know, so I never really got to see a long-term healthy marriage. So going into the space of purpose and understanding that I am love and all these beautiful concepts, I'm also having to redefine what a relationship looks like for me. Not even redefine, but even establish what a healthy relationship looks like. So as you know, I'm dating and understanding what other people sees as a healthy relationship. I need to really understand if what is out here resonates with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm very much a monogamous individual. But I also recognize that a lot of people in our community feel that monogamy is a hindrance or more of like a sense of possession of your partner. Um, and I don't necessarily feel that way. I feel like a partnership is just that. We agree to only be with each other, shouldn't be difficult. You know, if we have gone dating purposefully and understanding what we both come to the table with and how we can, you know, possibly mix things.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also having to understand that polyamory and polygamy and non-traditional relationships are very much real. And should I discount someone because of their ideologies on relationships, or should I be heart open to possibly trying it out? I'm addressing those questions in real time, honestly. I recently had a conversation with a close friend of mine about uh, polyamory, and the word possession comes up a lot when we talk about monogamy. And it's like putting a cap on your partner's sexual experiences and trying to be, try to be your partner's one person for everything, and expecting to be, their end all be all. And what if they want to have another party come in? And it's just a lot of questions that coming from a traditionally Muslim background, is all new territory for me. So
I think it's important for us to ask the questions and to be open to the fact that the answer may not be what we thought it was. For me, I think that my history and my family relationship really plays a lot into how I feel about monogamy and about relationships. My mom and dad dealt with, some infidelity things in their marriage. And when I was home a few weeks ago, I got a chance to sit down with my dad and ask him like how it started. And like we really went into it, open, honest communication, and it was great. And that was also an opportunity for me to say to him how much that affected me, because we think that kids don't know. We think that kids are just, oblivious to what's happening in their parents and adults in general's lives, but we know. And I happen to be a very intuitive kid anyway. So I always felt like this thing that was happening in like my home wasn't necessarily locked in. And so that's made it a little difficult for me to trust people in relationships. But monogamy for me just provides a safe space. It provides a space where I know it's you, I know it's me, but I also very, very, very much want to establish a relationship where we can tell each other when that's a problem, or if that's a problem, or if you're attracted to somebody else, or if you're really thinking about going down a different path. Like, I don't want you to keep that from me, because I was watching a clip from Red Table Talk today, and they were like, listen, there's non-ethical, like non-monogamy all over the place. People are saying like they're in monogamous partnerships, and one partner thinks that you're monogamous, but the other partner is like, well, I mean, I'm not. You know what I'm saying? So I want to be able to have open, honest communication, because at the end of the day, I think that's the most important thing.
So let me ask you this.
Yes.
If you were in a monogamous situation, would you be open? Let's say they communicated that they wanted to, go out and do their thing or whatever. Would you be okay with that?
I would have to cross that bridge when I got to it, but what would make me say yes? Ooh, this is new. What would make me consider saying yes is if I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that you loved me, and that you were coming home to me, and that there wasn't a possibility that you were just going to go out and find somebody else and fall in love with them and leave. But then that also begs the question about possessiveness and owning someone. And what does it mean for someone to truly be free? Because I think that love is about freedom. I do think that love is about freedom, but I think love is about choice and choosing to be with someone, especially if you're going to be in a monogamous relationship. So that's not my preference. But if I really loved someone and they were like, listen, I'm struggling, I don't want to cheat on you, but I need something else, I may be like, all right, well, let's see. Thoughts?
That's really evolved with you. I don't know. Like I said, these are things that I'm having to ask myself in real time. It's one of those things where, like me finding my purpose is like, okay, well, how do I purposefully, date and then have these type of discussions, and really deprogram from what I've been brought up to feel like a relationship was, which a lot of the times was rooted in possession. You're mine, you're not going anywhere. And so I'm actively unlearning these things. I just don't entirely know if I would be open to, because the way I see it, I do all the things. I come with full buffet of things. Let me like
Do it all.
but that's something that like I feel like I would need to address that bridge when I get there.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, listen, what I do feel slipping away, which is encouraging, like you was like, that's very evolved of you. I have evolved because it used to be like, oh, hell no, fuck that. Never. I would
Yeah.
never do it. But
Same.
as I've, started to, come to grips with, I don't, what I was going to say, I was going to come to grips with what society is doing, but I don't think that that's necessarily a marker for what we should be doing because we're individuals. But what I do feel slipping away is the judgment. There used to be slut shaming. There used to
Oh
be,
yeah.
oh, you out here
Absolutely.
sleeping with all these people, like, ugh. I mean, listen, human sexuality is a spectrum. So there are people that, I mean, listen, Tobias, it's so mixy, right? Because there are people that, because of their past trauma and because of their internal wounds, they feel like they need to connect with someone in that way, even if they don't know them. Or there are other people that feel like they're afraid that their partner is gonna leave them, or like, oh, my partner's gonna leave me anyway. I might as well go out and have fun and do this thing. So that's really on them, and that's really their internal trauma that's speaking, as opposed to maybe what they really want. And that's why I'm such a fan of open and honest communication.
Yeah. Yeah, and not only you have to be willing to communicate what it is you want or need, but you also have to be receptive. And that's like you have to be receptive, you got to be open, and that's where I'm saying I too have evolved versus being, like, yeah, never dealing with that. I ask the questions because if I am wanting, because a big thing of mine right now is safe spaces. Any partner of mine that comes into the fold and is able to experience the light and all these things, they need to feel safe. So I want them to feel like you said, to be able to communicate their needs and wants. And I have to be open to being receptive of how they feel and what it is they want, and not discredit them, not make them feel bad for their wants and needs, not do any of that, but and being able to create safe spaces, especially surrounding this topic, is sometimes difficult because we do want to judge. We do want to frown down upon people who are really on their journey doing them. So taking away that hierarchy, like monogamy,
is better than
yeah, that's something I'm actively stepping away from, and recognizing how that little bit of programming shows up in different areas of my life. So yeah, that has definitely been an experience. Yeah.
Listen, I went through
Loves.
I went through a situation recently where I forced myself to tell the truth, and I forced myself to ask for what I really wanted, because my pathology, or my path, has been me being the one that's always being backed up, me being the one that's always compromising. So it was really refreshing to be like, no, can you do this, or can you do this, or even just saying, listen, I'm feeling a little bit insecure, or saying this is, something that I need, was very good for me, but it was very hard.
Mm-hmm.
Very hard to tell the truth sometimes, especially if you like someone and you feel like you want to keep them around, or you feel like it will be better if you didn't say this thing because you know that it may shake things up. But let me tell you, people that may be listening, the best thing that you can do, it's going to be a little cliche, but the best thing that you can do is tell the truth. Because what I found is that when I bared my soul, and when I was able to say, this is what I'm dealing with and this is how I'm feeling, it made the relationship feel more like this. Like, I thought it was going to be like this, but it was actually intimacy. It was the true intimacy that was able to come in, because then I knew that that person was there because they actually liked me for who I am, not for the person that I was pretending to be.
That's beautiful to see, because I actually come from a few relationships that are completely counter to that, where I want to be vulnerable and I want to express and really step into my purpose, but it was either not received, discredited, gaslit, and it really, for a minute, it was also a catalyst to more growth for me, because it really pointed me in the direction that this is not the type of environment that's going to be beneficial for my purpose. right? It's going to create a lot of self-sabotage and negative self-talk and stuff. So going back to just the dating concept in and of itself and purpose, I feel like when we all start to look at ourselves in combination to a gear and contributing to the community, we're all like houseplants. You know, there's certain conditions that is required for us to really grow into our fullest self. And I kind of narrowed that down to, you have to have the environment and the space to do it. You have to have the nourishment, and you also have to have the space outside of just the environment, but the internal space to do it. And with plants, if you know, deplete them, if you put them in soil or put them in sand versus soil, similar to relationships, if it's not a safe space where that partner is contributing and it's adding nourishment to who you are as an individual, you're ultimately going to be stagnant for the remainder of that relationship. You're not going to be able to grow. So I challenge everyone who is actively either dealing with someone, or you're having these questions on whether or not that partner is for you. Are they contributing to your growth? Like, are they adding value? Do you feel safe in that relationship? Because ultimately, if you have to question whether or not you can talk to your partner, or I can't bring this up because you're going to trip, or I can't, you know, that is not going to push you forward to your purpose. And in any event, it's going to keep you in the same place you are for however long you allow it. And and when we get into these spaces, it can be sometimes traumatic, because we think that that's what relationships are about, and that's just not the case at all. You know, there's so many beautiful men and women and people that are actively doing this work to create safe spaces to completely counter that narrative. So it's sometimes, you know, it can be a little traumatic, but you have to go through it to understand that sometimes there are better people out here for you.
I call it, this is the only one itis. I suffered for years with this is the only one itis. This is the only one that's going to accept my body the way it is, or love me for this, or love me for that. And so I would hold on for dear life, even past the expiration date, not realizing that the boy I was with before that was the only one too. And the boy I was with before that one was the only one too. It's not true.
This is the one itis. I'm gonna definitely take that one because I definitely have been through that, and you know, it requires a very strong mind to acknowledge that you're worth more and your purpose is going to bring you more. And that's okay to want more. You know, it's we get so, it's like, oh, I don't want to ask too much, or if it's related to your purpose, your growth, asking for more is never that. And then any partner that you're with, you know, will be happily accommodating to that if that is part of your purpose. So I'm big on that. Yeah.
Listen, I feel like I'm talking to the audience. Like, I feel like there's somebody out there that's questioning all these things just like we all are. And that you need to let go. Sometimes, listen, baby, sometimes letting go is the best thing that you can do, because this relationship or the situation that you're in may not be the form that you want it to be. I'm not saying it's not going to be this person that you're tied to. What I am saying is that sometimes you have to let go and grow apart to come back together. Sometimes things have to fall apart to fall back together. And if it's not that person, I need you to trust is something better.
Always.
Something better. Tobias, this has been fun. This has been enlightening. This has been uplifting. This has been everything. Where can we find you? What's coming up next? How can we support you? Let us know.
Yes, thank you for having me on, everyone. You can find me on social media, simply T90, Simply T90. I have a few things coming up this summer. Indigo Wave Yoga, we're going to be teaching some classes. We're going to be getting some workshops together. A lot of good stuff. We want you to tap in. I want you to live your best self. I want you to continue on the journey. It's not always going to be easy. It's not going to always be rainbows and fairy tales, but I can assure you, if you actively do the work and you're intentional with things like your purpose, love, your ultimate goal financially and introspectively, you will live a fuller life. And if you keep that to the forefront, I guarantee you it's going to be lit. Lit.
So we have a final meme, which I usually do by myself, but I would love to get your thoughts on this as we close out and give our final words. If we could bring up that final meme. Here we go. Stop talking yourself out of opportunities because you don't feel like you're ready yet. It's time. You're ready now. Tobias, thoughts?
This kind of ties into you are exactly where you need to be. You are sexy as you currently are. The like the opportunities that you have in your life is sufficient enough. Be okay with where you are, but also understand that you are you're destined for greatness. And living in fear and having all of these negative self-depreciating thoughts is not going to ultimately lead to your higher purpose. And if the goal is higher purpose, you jump into it. If you want to start that podcast, start the podcast. Like if you want to get that cert, get up and get that certification. Whether or not you're qualified, you'll deal with that at a later date. But just start throwing things against the wall. Like there should be no fear. And I'm speaking to myself when I say this. Because we want to be afraid of our here and now. And when you start to really get your head around that, what's meant for you is going to be meant for you. You'll have no problem just getting out there and jumping into it. Yeah. Period. Whether it fails or not, it's always going to be a learning journey. But by all means, just do it. Like Nike said.
Thank you for that reminder. What's meant for you is going to be for you. So you don't have to push, pull, grab, hold on, be afraid, be anxious, What's meant for you is meant for you, boo-boo. That's what we're gonna leave it tonight. Tobias, stick around. I'll see you backstage. You can find the Damon Speak Show is a visual podcast that you can find every Monday night on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Twitch at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Look out in June. We're gonna be having a big end of the season party. We'll invite some guests back and we'll be talking about all the things. We may pop bottles. I'm not really sure about that part yet, but we're gonna have a good time. Cody, thank you so much for my co-producer Cody, who keeps us on it with the technical stuff. Cody, thank you. We love you. That's the show this week. We'll see you next week. Have a good week, everybody. Let's roll the credits.
Thank you.